Netflix's new Swedish thriller, The Glass Dome, weaves an intriguing mystery and concludes with the culprit being caught. The crime drama begins with Leonie Vincent, a woman who was kidnapped as a child, returning home after her adoptive mother dies. But while she is in the fictional Swedish village of Granäs, her friend Louise, Gina Fallen Ronander, is found dead, and Louise's daughter Alicia, Manu Andaka, mysteriously disappears. As Loila begins to investigate what happened to Alicia and where she might be, she must face her past and what she went through when she was kidnapped. When Alicia's clothes are left at the entrance of her father Sed's, Farzad Farzana, mine, he becomes the main suspect in the investigation. However, he is released from police custody as more clues emerge, which point to another person being behind the crime. The more Loila investigates, the more she uncovers hard truths that connect to the culprit being the same person who had kidnapped her. In the third act of the intense thriller, Loila is sure she solved the mystery but is shocked to discover that the person she trusted the most in the world has been lying to her for her whole life. Who kidnapped Loila and Alicia in the Glass Dome? Walter kidnapped Loila and Alicia. Loila, a criminologist, is an expert in kidnapping cases because she went through a similar ordeal. Her goal is to ensure that Alicia is returned home to her family safe and sound. Initially, Loila doesn't think her past has anything to do with Alicia's kidnapping, but as she listens to old recordings of her mother's interview with the police, she deduces that there are stark similarities between her and Alicia's cases. While other people, like Sed and then Jim, Victor Stahl Segerhagen, are suspects, they don't fit the profile. However, Tomasz, Johan Reborg, Loila's uncle, does. Just as she puts the clues together, Loila is kidnapped once again and is returned to the Glass Dome, where she finds Alicia. Using Louise's phone, which she stole from Tomasz's house, she calls Walter, Johan Hedenberg, to alert him about her location. Shockingly, it's Walter who shows up at the Glass Dome and asks for the phone. It turns out he was the one who had kidnapped Loila, Alicia, and several other girls. Tomasz fits the kidnapper's profile, which is that he grew up in an abusive home and hadn't dealt with that trauma. But given how great a liar Walter is, it makes sense that he wasn't suspected of being the kidnapper. Only Tomasz really knew what kind of dark secrets his brother was hiding. Why Walter abducted Loila and the other girls? Walter had unresolved trauma. The Glass Dome Season 1 ending explained 2-29 screenshot. When he was younger, Walter lived in an abusive household. His father frequently hit him, and Tomasz, while his mother did nothing. The girls Walter abducts all have dark hair, just like his mother. In a way, kidnapping and then killing the children is his method of regaining some sort of control. Because his mother didn't protect him when she should have, he found a destructive way to process his pain and trauma. For Walter, keeping his victims' hair also meant that he could still have a level of control over them even after they died. Loila's case, however, was different. Walter spent months watching her before kidnapping her. He became obsessed with Lelja because she was different from the other girls he had abducted before, which is why he adopted her after her mother died. He wanted to cement himself as Loila's savior despite being the one who had caused her so much pain. This worked for a while until Loila discovered that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. What happened to Walter's other victims? The victims' bodies had been thrown in a lake. When Loila is going through past kidnapping cases in Sweden while looking for Alicia, she comes across several files of missing girls who were never found. The search for these girls was fruitless and didn't yield any clues as to what had happened to them because Walter ensured that nothing could be tied to him. After he is arrested, he tells Loila what he did with their bodies. He threw them in the lake where he and Loila used to go. The girls' bodies are removed from the water by the police and returned to their families. Who was behind Louise's murder, and why they did it? Walter also killed several people. Walter looking sad. Louise's murder kickstarts the mystery in the Netflix original series. At first, it looks like she died by suicide, but the result of her autopsy shows a puncture wound in her neck. Given that she was having an affair with Tomasz, it seems like Sed killed her in a fit of rage. But it turns out it was also Walter behind this murder. When a kidnapper like Walter goes through a big life change, which in this case was his wife dying and Loila returning, They sometimes go back to their old ways. Alicia, whose family is hated by the people in the small village, was the perfect victim because abducting her would mean that there would be several suspects. Yet Walter knew that her mother wouldn't rest until she found her. The best way to avoid being caught was to ensure that Louise wouldn't be around to fight for her daughter after Walter kidnapped her. Walter also had to make sure that Louise's death was ruled a suicide, so he cut her wrists open after killing her. Does the Glass Dome finale set up a season 2? The season finale of the Glass Dome had no loose ends, said Tomasz, arguing. The Glass Dome is thrilling from start to finish, has great characters, and slowly builds up its story before coming to a satisfying conclusion. Given how great the non-English Netflix show is, there might be questions about whether the ending sets up a second season. The Glass Dome's finale answers all the questions that are presented during its 6 episodes, so there is no need for a sophomore season. If there were to be a second season, then it may be about Loyola investigating other kidnapping cases. The Glass Dome concludes with Walter being punished for his crimes and ending up behind bars. Walter and Loyola both have unresolved trauma in the miniseries that shaped their lives. For the ex-police officer, his trauma led him to commit heinous crimes, while Loyola decided to help other people. At its core, the Glass Dome is a tale about not taking things at face value. Walter was able to hide in plain sight for so long because he was able to act like a normal person who cared about his community, so there was no reason to suspect him. Additionally, if Walter had adequately dealt with what happened to him during his childhood, then maybe he wouldn't have believed that hurting children was the solution. Given what Walter has done, Loyola finally sees the importance of getting psychological help after going through such a difficult experience. Ultimately, the Glass Dome's finale depicts that there is always karma for wrongdoers, even when it doesn't look like the kind of punishment they deserve.